I want to talk about avant-garde-ism. Avant-garde. Avant-garde, right? Do you know what it means, avant-garde? Avant-garde means, either cutting edge is the way we say it in English, I would say. Avant-garde-ism was a driving force of art and arts and creativity and like what we thought of as good for a long, long time. So when I was coming up, it was about being avant-garde, And so my curiosity and my intellect is what pushed me to want to go learn as much as I could about everything that was new. And now I see everybody else doing that, and I'm not doing that. I feel old. I feel like I can't keep up because I missed out on staying abreast of what the fresh stuff was. You can think of so many examples, I'm sure. Pop music, like I can sing probably songs from 1977 to 1989, maybe 1993. From 1977 to 1993, right? Those 16 years. If a song comes on the radio, I can probably sing every single word. From 1993 to 1999, those 6 years now, the number of songs I could sing is probably down to like 25. From 1999 or say 2000 on to 2024, the number of songs that came out during that time that come on the radio, I can sing maybe 5. But this is a metaphor for something else, okay, which is, what was the point of being avant-garde? What was the point of being a first adopter, right? If you were a tech person in these last 25 years, and you're one of these people who just very quickly learns whatever the new, fresh stuff is. Well, for the industry, part of the point is what we call beta, right? So beta is where you give it out to everybody so that they can find the bugs that you wouldn't have thought of. But by having millions of users, the users create contexts, and you go, oh, we never thought of that. That's something we have to solve. So beta used to be called beta testing. But basically betas are now so commonly understood by so many, we can probably say millions, if not tens of millions, if you're talking about a place like India, where now the computer culture has exploded very rapidly, and they have adopted Silicon Valley, NorCal, protocols, NorCal, Silicon Valley verbiage, vernacular, lingo. These are all things that came out of NorCal and the birth of digital culture. Okay, we are responsible in Northern California. I was there at the time in 1993 when they turned the TCP/IP protocol on, and we decided this is it. It's going to be a shared information resource for everybody. I was in my 20s when it happened. So we were the group that was kind of coming up with it, right? And now that's just exploded and become everywhere. And avant-garde-ism isn't the thing, okay? It's not what it's about. Avant-garde-ism is attached, I think, to the 20th century more than to the 21st. And I'm here to tell you, what was it good for? We live in a culture now that's, yeah, but what have you done for me lately? What are you doing for me now? It used to be, what have you done for me lately? Now it's, what are you doing for me now? Is the only relevant question. And so there's no stop and pause. As we've discussed recently, many people have been discussing it. Looking for that third place, that place of reflection, separating yourself from your life and your work so you can, and even your recreation, so you can look at all three and find how to create balance. Because you and your mind can do that, right? You're capable of doing such a thing. Okay, so all of this is to say I was avant-garde for a very long time, and now I'm not. And when I was avant-garde, I went through experiences in the digital culture generation that now I see people wrestling with. Now I see people dealing with in the digital generation en masse. Whereas when it was happening to me, I was the only one experiencing that. Here we have to separate the educated, meaning educated in school, from the street knowledge, is the way we used to call it. But really, let's talk about that in a digital context. The educated, you're in school, and you're learning machine process thinking in an orderly fashion. That's how it goes. You go to school. When we were starting, you would learn BASIC, and then you would learn COBOL, and then you would learn C, and then you would learn C++, and you would learn C++. Then along came Java. SQL now, because we're talking about database technology. So each thing you're learning is building on the previous thing. When that started to change is when end users became their own group that could be marketed to. That is to say, if you were studying computing and computers and you were going through that thought process, there was like 9 people around you who weren't doing that, but they wanted the information that you had once you'd already gone through the process. And so you just give it to them. They wouldn't have to go through the process to get it. It's like what Michael Crichton said, right? With Jurassic Park, you didn't have to do any of the work to get it. You just were handed it, right? So those end users are like how everybody is nowadays. Nobody knows how their phone works. Nobody knows how the computing works. Nobody can write code. But they use dozens, if not even in some cases hundreds of apps and programs and devices. So that change in thinking happened in my lifetime, and as an avant-garde, I watched it starting to happen, and I became worried. Like, okay, well, some of these things that they're just giving out now are not really that useful. So do I have to go now and study that thing all the way back down until I understand the root of it? No, I can reject it on principle alone. So that made me seem stupid to a lot of people, because I was in these highly specific contexts. Let's take publishing. I was working for a national magazine, and my girlfriend at the time, I remember, she's like, you don't even want to learn about this software, this editing software? And I was like, no. And she was like, I don't understand you. And I was trying to explain to her, no, listen, I'm ahead of this game. I can see what's going on here. That software will be replaced. You are educating them, the software makers, right now. You're running a beta without knowing it, basically, is what's happening. So you're asking me to learn that when that thing, that actual thing, is interfering with my ability to write, because writing comes as an originating event within me, the words and the thoughts. And once you start using these softwares and you start using the typewriter, even other things, you're changing the words and the thoughts from within you because of the needs of the machine that's required. This is recently being explored. I saw an article about it. But even back then, I was ahead of this in that way. So I would pick and choose, like many people. I'll choose to learn this, I'll not choose to learn that. But I was rejecting a lot more than I was choosing. And the attitude was far more rejective. It would take me a long time to find something I would want to adopt. And those things, I've noticed, many of them have lasted, well, to the extent that they can. And even that's immaterial, right? How long they last or whether I chose the right ones. It's a crapshoot. You just learned what you learned. By the way, that girlfriend who learned that software so well for those national magazines, within a year and a half or 2 years, magazine publishing changed to digital publishing. Those software became irrelevant. Sure, the languages within them were useful, but you can learn those when you pick up the new one. So it's kind of strange to me that there's an ageism hiring toward the young that needs to change now. You should be hiring people like me, people in our 50s who are savvy with the digital stuff but refuse to participate based on our own ethic, our own morality, our own cultural understanding, both of digital culture and of culture at large. You should be hiring people in their 50s to be doing managing of people in the digital culture, because we do know about it. There was a recent feedback in a YouTube video that I commented on where one of the millennials was complaining that Mos Def, the rapper, was trying to get them to slow down. And the commenter was saying, yeah, it's because he can't, maybe because he can't keep up. He thinks that you have to, and that's the whole thing. It's not that he can't keep up. It's that he's lapped you. We've already been around. Because we were the avant-garde of our generation, we've already done the thing you're doing that you think is so novel. But because there's so many boomers and elderly around you, no one will tell you that what you're doing is not that novel. Only people my age who have already gone through it with digital stuff can tell you that. And so there's less of us because we're the smaller population group between you and the boomers. This is the link that I want to work on, and I feel like we can be working on. And if you were smart, boomers and angel investors should be hiring 50-year-olds to manage 20-year-olds, and the way they interview them should be with all of this in mind. And 20-year-olds should be turning to 50-year-olds and asking them about the times they rejected technology. That's the way for us to move forward.